Thank you everyone for watching the Past and Future Shorts Blocks. I'm Rick Hamilton, managing the director of The Chain, and I am here with Alexandra Guillassou with The Deepest Cut. A little bit later in the Talkbacks, Patrick Pizzolo Russo will be in to do the rest of them, but I wanted to sneak in and talk with Alexandra, so welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Absolutely. So Alexandra, this is one of two shorts that you have in the festival with us.
Yes, the other one is A Flood.
After the Flood, go look and check that out because it is a fantastic piece. But we're here to talk about The Deepest Cut. So obviously the first thing that really comes to mind, and I think everybody's going to want to know, is how did you meet this family and what is your connection to them that they allowed you into like their deepest thoughts for this piece?
So it is my family, and that's what made the whole thing possible. So I'd grown up with my mom having MS, and then my brother had it from early on. And every summer we'd go visit my parents at the lake. So every year I could see him getting worse. And every year I would say to myself, I really feel like I need to make a story about this before it's too late. So that's at that moment, I tell everybody, and it's true, I was really kind of sneaky about it. I was sort of filming him, pretending I wasn't filming him when we were there. So that's why there's not a lot of footage, and it kind of like stops and then sort of it's in and out. And the last day he was there at my parents' house, I confessed to him what I wanted to do because I really was concerned that he wouldn't want to do it. And he was completely on board. He was like, yes, let's do this. And so I got about an hour's worth of audio of him and my parents and his son. I mean, just amazing amounts of audio. And he completely opened up. They all did actually, and just told me everything. And I just had this amazing story. So then I realized, okay, I don't have enough footage. I have hardly any footage because I was sneaking. And
Right.
I've got all this great audio. Now what do? I have to figure out a way to condense, over an hour into a few minutes, and then, try to work in what I was able to capture at that time. And there was a little bit I captured, I think, the year before, and make something of that.
So when you were recording audio, it was completely audio. It was just like on a mic. There was no video with that at all.
Yes. And I think what made that successful was it immediately made everybody comfortable because they knew there wasn't a camera on them. It was just, I had a microphone and said, we just sat in a room, and I went, okay, you're going to, tell me who you are and, how you're related. And then just tell me the story in your own words of what happened. And then I would ask maybe one or two other questions at the end, but it worked out great. I mean, they were so comfortable, and you wouldn't expect that from people generally, right? Because usually especially when they're on camera, they just suddenly like freeze and like, and they don't remember what to talk about. But when you're just sitting in a room, then they forget about it. And it was great.
And it also led to one of the things I wanted to ask, and I guess it was a after the fact or a side effect of how you put it together, is the fact that you don't have talking heads in your documentary, but the shots of them sitting and hearing, really it comes across as these are the unspoken things. These are the things that we don't say aloud in public. These are our thoughts, and that makes it so powerful.
It was actually, it was a little heartbreaking for me. While I was editing, I was amazed at how well the headshots came out. I don't really like talking heads, to tell you the truth. I try to avoid it as much as I can. I don't know, there's something about it.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because before I had them do the things I asked them to do, just their natural gestures, their unease, that the camera was on, they're fidgeting, whatever. It just worked so well with what they actually said on the audio. I was shocked at how some of it worked together. And I think it really, I do think it pulled, it showed what they really were going through, like you said, silently. And I was able to put the two pieces together. But Yeah, it hit me hardest when I accepted one of the an award in one of the film festivals I was in, and they showed the film, and then right after they showed it, I had to stand up and talk about it, and it was like the first time I mean, I just immediately like fell apart and started crying, and I had to have my husband come up and like calm me down so I could actually get through it. I mean, the whole time I edited, the whole time I filmed, the whole time I did everything, totally fine. It's totally fine. But it was like the first time that I like really watched it. And yeah, I think it came across pretty well. I
You came
hope.
across extremely well. And I think the only reason that I know that you shot it on your phone is because of some of the other festivals that you've been in, which
Mhm.
were kind of mobile festivals. It's beautiful. I'm not sure that I was aware, and especially if, you know, some of that stuff on the boat, you're even trying not to be obvious about filming, it's even more remarkable. It kind of goes to show, you know, we keep saying that the gear doesn't make the film, the filmmaker and the story make the film, and that is so true. But then you're also getting incredible shots, stuff like this, the soccer ball in the yard, and the walker. I'm assuming that that's all you've kind of put together your story, and now you need a little more. So you went back and chose
Yes.
those specifically.
Yes, I did. I did that all at home after. I was like, oh my gosh, I need something that does this. And I went, and yeah, I was able to take some time to set up those shots, all natural light, because, you know, I tend to not, I don't know, I tend to not use lighting either, but mostly because it's like really complicated for me. And I'm just like, natural light, natural light. But yeah, so I was able to get those shots in and really take my time to sort of get that filler. But things like the rain shot, I
Yeah.
mean, that just happened to be, you know, it rained that day, and I was just like, oh, I'll just, you know, like film some of this, and yeah, it did turn out beautiful. I was pretty surprised. That was an iPhone 6, which I think that phone at that particular phone took amazing film. I actually think it takes, sometimes I think it takes better film than my iPhone XR does right now. I kind of miss it. But
Seriously, some of that you know, it almost looks like it's beautifully shot. You did the music
I
for the film.
did. Yeah. I took piano for, I don't know, 12, 13 years. And I put this together on my iPad, you know, on the garage band. And it was the craziest thing for me. I was like, because I play piano and I was trying to figure this out on the, you know, 10 keys or something on that pad. But yeah, a lot of the things I do are really informed by the audio and the music, especially. And I had a track that I sort of liked, but I realized I just wanted to create my own. So I kind of used that first one to sort of sketch out how I wanted the sequence to work. And then I went back and then created my own piece. And that was really interesting. I would love to do it again, but I would love to have like a full keyboard so I can actually really do it.
Beautiful, but yes, obviously you want more tools at your belt.
Yeah.
So just to close out, one of the going back, getting off the technical aspects and getting back to the heart of the piece. One of the really poignant things that you talk about, or your mother talks about, is sort of the blame
Mhm.
of having this, and what we pass on to our families, many of which are really great things. And there are some bad things. What does it mean to you as a, I know that you're a mother, what does it mean to you as a mother that this is part of your life and passing on to future generations?
I think it's terrifying for all of us, actually, because to see it and to see how the two of them are both far worse now. That that realization that it's not just my brother's sons, it's my daughter as well. And then what happens as that gene passes down the line, because it's there, and you know it might skip a few generations, but it's just knowing that that could always happen again. And it is, you know, sometimes people do that genetically. They take the tests and they figure that out. And I have to say, like, sort of knowing that, it does make you, it does make you very uneasy about not necessarily your future, but definitely the future of your kids. And I know that our kids are going to are going to pass that down as well. It's that's going to be a never ending thing. but I guess everyone just tries to live with it as best they can. But yeah, that really, and yeah, there is a sort of feeling of blame. I mean, should my daughter get it, I'll feel a sense of blame, even though I don't have it, but I'll know where it came from. And,
Yeah.
and I'll always have that feeling of what could I have done to try to prevent it from happening? Because there are triggers, right? There's certain things that can happen to you that make you more susceptible to getting it, to kind of triggering that to work. And so that will always be running through all of our minds, I think, all the time. But yeah, and I think it's hard too for my father. My father just recently passed away, and he had a very poignant thing that he said too about how he couldn't even look at my brother. He couldn't even look at his own son, but he couldn't look at his own son because it just broke his heart so much. And but he loved him dearly, but it just tore him apart that he couldn't do anything. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I think that comes across. I mean, it's a powerful moment. Again, it's a truth that you can't believe is actually being shared with the world. But I think it helps people who are in the same circumstance realize that they're not alone. As soon as you think something that you assume is horrible and that you're a terrible person, just knowing that somebody else has gone through that same thing and had that same experience is really comforting. So I think your awareness just of putting this out in the world for MS as a whole is spectacular. But you're putting this out there to say that this is how we're dealing with it, and we're not perfect, and there is no perfect way, is beautiful, and I think very, very beneficial to the world.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's exactly what I hope for. I wanted people to see the raw side of it, because a lot of people don't like talking about that side of it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for talking about the film with me, and congratulations again for After the Flood as well. Please do check that out and stick around. Patrick will be in to talk about some more of these films.
Welcome to the Chain Film Festival. I'm joined today with Yanis Carretto, who I'm going to go ahead and see if I can pronounce this correctly, because I made a point to make sure I know how to pronounce the title of your film, and it is Saudade.
Saudade.
Saudade. See,
I did the voiceover, and I don't speak Portuguese, but I had to practice
over and over again.
Yeah.
All right. So Saudade, that's the name of the film you brought with us. And this was a lovely film to bring to this festival. Thank you so much for sharing this with us and taking us on our journey, or on your journey. And so right off the bat, I just want to know, because this one deals with memories and past. And so as a filmmaker, as an actor, and as somebody who lives in the now digital world, how important are those physical memories? So photos or letters or things the tangible things that we can hold on to. How important do you think those are?
I'm probably the most biased person to ask. So I call myself a nostalgia enthusiast. So I've been writing about nostalgia, studying nostalgia for many years. So, and the reason why this film came about is because I lost those tangible memories. I had a hard drive crash, and it wasn't just, I lost pictures, I lost photos. People, you lose them all the time, when, especially now in this digital world, you're figuring out a new hard drive, whatever, new computers. But for me, I was starting out, I came from a whole different career. So this was all new to me, the filmmaking, and I had done projects and that I had put on the hard drive, and I had put old family memories on there, and I said, okay, everything's on here, I'm safe. And then it crashes. And to me, it was devastating as a nostalgic, as a person whose memories a lot of the projects that I do are based off of memories from childhood, things that I remember experiencing, conversations with people. And so to lose those memories, my grandfather had just passed, and some of our most recent conversations were on there. I recorded him, he was 96, and he had stories and stories to tell. And so for me to lose that, it was just, it's like, you say, oh, it's just a picture, but you do lose a part of yourself, and you're now like consciously, okay, I'm going to remember that conversation. I'm going to write it down. I'm going to, record it myself. So you're desperately holding on to those moments of the past, because in some ways they do guide you in the future, and they kind of set the stage for how you go about in the present. And so for me, it's very important. So.
And I think we can all relate in some way because we're all sort of trying to struggle and balance. Well, I've got a digital copy of it. Is that good enough?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, but sure. But this physical copy, this is an actual piece of this person.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, be they writings or even just audio recordings. So it's really hard when we. I can understand it's really hard when we lose that. It's almost like losing a part of that person or a connection to that person.
Yeah, or a place you've been to. I just went when that crash. I had just gone through Route 66. It was a trip I had planned for years. I had, oh my God, I was dreaming about it. It was an experience. I documented the whole thing and I was out there for months. And I got back and I lost it all. And so, so I've set out. I've recovered about 45%. By going back to places. I can't recover people. I can't recover things like that. But going back, the feeling, the memory of being there, I've gone back to about 45% of those places. But that is an example of a trip. That's how it goes.
So now, I mean, talking about going back, you've gone back, and after visiting like your familial home, do you have? I know in the documentary you kind of talk about you don't have much of a connection to it, but do you now? Physically going there and exploring and doing this research, and I don't want to say creating new memories, but trying to find those old connections again. Do you have a stronger connection?
I do. So I had gone to Cuba a few months prior to making this film and going there for the purpose of making this film. I had some families there. I had grown up. I'm not Cuban, but I had a Cuban stepfather and half Cuban siblings and stepsister in Cuba. We lost touch when we were very little. And so I always had ties to Cuba, but I had never been there. And so when I went, I felt a connection. Going there, the experience of making this film, I had gone there because it was one of those, I'm getting out of here. I lost everything. I'm going to figure out a way to start over. And this was a place that was new to me and I needed someplace unknown. And I went there. And since then, I can say I talk to my family every day. I have a much stronger connection to the country, to the people, to the experiences that I had there. So it was in a sense recovering not just what I lost, but I came back with so much more. And I think experiences like that are really important to just being able to, when you, how do I say it? There was a gap, there was a space, there was a void, and going there, it's almost like I filled it, but now it's like stuffed with all this stuff on there.
Which is good.
Yeah, and it's perfect. It's a nice feeling. And I think that's what the film has done. It has filled that void in some sense.
So going back there, was it? I don't want to say was it difficult, but how accepting were people, or how? I guess how accepting were people to actually sit down and talk to you and share some of these stories? Was there any hesitation because now there's a camera in my face or there's a recorder, or were they just let's talk?
Not at all. The Cuban people in general are very friendly. They want to talk. They want to know about you. They want you to know about them. One of the things, the conversations that really stood out to me, there was a young boy that I interview in the film. And he said to me, this is how the film was started. I had no idea what I was going to make. I was there to take a study filmmaking. I didn't really set out. I thought we might film something for a school project. I didn't set out to make this film. I was in the town walking around one night. The boy approached me. He said, hey, he was with his friends. He said, can you make a movie about me? The town knows that there's a film school nearby. So they're used to people with cameras. They said, can you make a movie about me? And I said, well, what's your story? And he said, meet me here tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. at my house. He showed me where his house was. And he said, I'll tell you my story. And I said, okay. He texted me that night. He said, you're going to be here, right? I said, yes. Next morning, 6 a.m, I'm there. And he's introducing me to his family. He's an orphan, but he has some family around. And I spent the rest of the day with him. And that's how the movie got started. We went from one place to the movie. And one thing he said to me when we were done filming, he said, I may never be able to leave my country. I may never go out there. He has these lavish dreams that are, for us as Americans, they're not so lavish, but for Cubans, they are. And he says, I may never be able to leave, but what you recorded today, the time that we spent together, my voice, my thoughts, my dreams, he's like, you take that with you. You put that out there into the rest of the world. He's like, I might not be able to leave, but I know that that's out there. And people know that I exist and that I have these dreams, that I have these thoughts. And same thing with some of the other people that I interviewed. they were just happy to get their voice out there, their image out there, so that someone outside of this country that has these difficult circumstances know that they exist, and that one day they might be out there with the rest of us.
Well, and through your medium, at least their story for now is already out there. So in a way, they've already taken that first step of getting out of that by their tale is out there. How long did you spend there working on it, or at least how long were you there in Cuba filming?
I was there for a month, and the process of filming this was 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Nice, nice.
We were there for a month roaming around, but 2 weeks, they kind of dumped us in the town. We were studying with the filmmaker Peter Bettler, Canadian-Swiss filmmaker, and he said that he was running a workshop about dreams and memories, and so everything kind of flew together, and about things being greener on the grass being greener on the other side, some things that we were exploring. And they kind of just dumped us in the town and said, okay, go make a movie. And so we were like, all right, well, there were beautiful windows in the town. I'm like, is there a theme, something about windows? I didn't know until this young boy approached me one night. I decided to stay behind the rest of the class. I said, I'll walk home or I'll take the later bus. And it was late at night, and I'm walking around with all my gear, my camera, we had to bring it all with us. And then that's what happened. He met me, and that was it.
I love it. I mean, that's the magic of filmmaking, where you let this story take you where it was going to go. I love it.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Take care. Hey, thank you for joining us. We are talking about Postgraduate, and we are joined with two members of that production. We have Sal Tassone from Postgraduate, who's the director, and the lead actor, who's John Vogel. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. How you doing?
Having us, Patrick. Great, man. How are you?
Fantastic.
Hey, thanks for having us.
No, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Your film was fantastic. I really enjoyed taking some time to watch it, especially because it's a film that is centered on just one person. So we have there's so many films that it's a huge cast, but it was nice to just sit down and focus on one person, basically just spilling their heart out, literally on stage. So it was a really nice, lovely film.
Thanks.
And I kind of want to talk about that a little bit. It's a little difficult to focus on one character at a time and keep someone's attention. It's hard on stage, let alone on film. So were there any challenges that you saw trying to keep that? Not that you're doing you're doing a great job keeping the focus, but as a director and as an actor, were there any specific challenges?
Yeah, I'll take it from a director standpoint, then I'll let John talk about from the acting perspective. John, just to give you a little history, had done another film, a short film of mine called Color of Love that he was amazing in. And this movie was written by a friend of ours named Scott Hoffman, who I've collaborated with on a couple of other things. And when he gave it to me, I thought, oh my God, this is like a monologue. How am I going to direct and film this? How do you get, and like you said, how do you keep people's attention span with one person talking basically for 20 somewhat minutes, and he's not interacting with anybody until the end. So we sat down with John and Scott, and we kind of went through it and said, how are we going to do this? So we decided the best attempt would be to film it without any pauses. In other words, have John deliver all the dialogue without me having to say cut, reshoot, cut. And that was really probably the biggest challenge for me as a director. Because normally when you direct, you can say, okay, let's do this scene 105, do 3 takes, boom, you're done. Let's do scene 106. In this case, it was like, no, because we didn't want to lose the energy. We didn't want to lose the momentum of him telling his story, because really the crux of it is the last 3-4 minutes of when he's talking, connecting everything in with his life, how all the stuff that he talked about really was about him, essentially. And I didn't want to lose the emotionality that John was amazing at, and continuing that, and at the end really putting it all together. And we shot this all in one night. Basically, we shot overnight because that's the only time we could get the location. So that in itself, to keep everybody awake and motivated.
It doesn't show, I'll say that.
John, I tell you, John was really the fulcrum of everything. I mean, for me as a director, I just let him run with it. He pretty much did it on his own. I didn't have a lot, in essence. Like I said, it wasn't your typical thing where you can cut, take one emotion, and it was very linear too, which helped us quite a bit.
Sure. How was that for you, John, as an actor, not being able to have a director stop you and go, I want to make this little adjustment? It's you just go, do the whole thing, and then start again. How was that?
Well, you know, we've always got to give out a great shout out to Scott Hoffman, the writer, because his writing's very musical, and I happen to be my first career was in music, and you know, when he gave it to me, you know, usually you have action items that break up a script. It'll tell you, you know, as there were no action items. It was just one long monologue, and it was 11 pages, which ended up translating. The first cut was, like Sal said, about almost 20 minutes. And then went back, and then they found areas that it kind of just repeated. But for me to get up on stage and do it, you know, Scott, he's like, oh yeah, we got it. Scott kind of talks like this. He goes, hey John, we got ourselves, you know, a few weeks before we're going to shoot this, you know. And then all of a sudden he calls and he goes, oh no, we're doing it next week. So there's 18 minutes of dialogue to have to learn in a week. But Scott is such a gifted writer that going from one section to another section, you know, talking about the druggies and the drinkers and the athletes and the cheerleaders and those types, and then finally the nerds, and then about himself, it flowed quite easily to be able to learn all that dialogue and be able to put the emotion into each section, because, you know, as the janitor, he knew those people because he was each one of those people at some point in his life. So the most daunting part, I think, was when I finally got up on the stage to start doing it. And Sal, who is such a gifted and wonderful director and is able to let, you know, his actors just explore and give great comment, because he's got such a great feeling about what the content's about, that he's able to give these great little nudges to get you back on track if you've kind of started to lose your way. But the surprise that I had was when I was up on stage and I rehearsed it without wearing my glasses. And then Sal's like, oh, no, keep those glasses on. Well, my glasses are really for distance. And all of a sudden I could see everything. And I gotta say, it was kind of like, holy moly, like, this is a big auditorium, you know, and then I'd see a little movement and then it would catch my eye. But once we got all that, you know, done, the process was pretty simple, I would say. I don't recall, you know, maybe I get a little frustrated with myself because I really wanted to be able to do it all the way through without having to stop. But the crew that Sal brought together, they were phenomenal. And the atmosphere that I had and was able to work with was really, it was wonderful to be able to do.
No, to John's credit, Patrick, you know, it's very challenging for a director. I mean, for an actor not to have another actor bounce off, you know, except for the one line, the one interaction at the end with the woman that's in the audience that he actually speaks to. I don't know if you remember that part at the end.
I do. Actually, I wanted to talk to you about that a little bit.
Which, by the way, was we kind of that was an ad lib, that because she was working at the place where we were filming.
Oh, she really?
It was kind of we had talked about it, but it wasn't really planned. You know, she's not an actor, so we didn't know if she was even going to show up or if she was going to be comfortable. And she was natural. I mean, we couldn't have played it any better. She was the way she was reading her newspaper, the way she responded to him at the end, saying, "Hey, I don't speak English." But anyway, what was your question regarding that?
Well, I was going to bring her up because you have a whole level of him giving this speech, and probably a speech that all of us have practiced in our head. We all have a version of that, but he's giving this speech to an empty auditorium. But then you have Modesta Curiel, who played that part, come in. So instead of an empty auditorium, he does have an audience, but it's an audience that doesn't understand anything he's saying.
Which is kind of a metaphor, honestly, because a lot of times you graduated from high school, and I'm assuming you went to college too. a lot of the people out there don't have any clue.
Mhm.
You might be hearing the words, and they might be hearing this person talk, but they're thinking about, you know, going out partying, getting stoned, getting high that night, whatever they're going to
Sure.
do, what's going to happen with their, you know, the job for the summer. So their mind is already, the mindset's somewhere else. So it's kind of like the stage, even though it was an empty stage, he's really talking to an audience that's been part of his life for 30 years. They may not be physically there, but they are spiritually there, because he's wanted to do this so badly for so long that in his mind, they're there. It's just that they're not physically there. Yeah, she was a lot of fun. She brought a lot of levity and, you know, to the last part of it, kind of tied it all in.
Definitely a nice layer to have an extra body there the whole time, because he anticipates an empty audience, and he's like, all right, well, I'll give this speech to you. Sit down.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for allowing us a place to show it, because we think it's, you know, the younger kids have seen it. I said that we should have this shown in school, because
For sure.
I don't want to give too much of the storyline at this point, but it's really a testament of what you go through. You know, people think that the 4 years of high school are like, it's your life. It's just a microcosm in a big world. So we're kind of saying, you know what, don't take this stuff too seriously. It's really not that serious.
And the film definitely gives that message.
Yeah.
I am here talking with Evan Gardner, who is the filmmaker behind Finding Our Voice. Welcome, Evan. How are you?
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be a part
Thank
of
you.
that.
Thank you so much for submitting this film, first of all. This is a fantastic journey through your life, but then it was also nice to see some other people that are dealing with similar things. And it was just a nice way to introduce people that may not be totally aware of some of this, and to just go along with you in your life and have you welcome us in. So I kind of want to start off with that and say, I mean, it takes a lot to just give a speech in general. Sometimes it gives a lot to stand up in front of friends and just tell a story at a party. But you've kind of gone a step further with this, and you're basically giving a speech to the world with your film out there. So how does it feel having your film playing in different festivals and having your story out there?
Yeah, I mean, I will say when I first made this film, I really did not expect the response that it has received as it's made its festival run and all the various places it's gone. It's been really amazing, and honestly, it's been really it feels really good, especially within the apraxia community, for them to really kind of want to see the film and help and be a part of the film. So that was really, my personal opinion, the best part of this.
Oh, that's great. I love the fact that they're also encouraging you, and obviously it's a welcoming community, but they are as interested in seeing it. We've had a couple documentaries where people have interviewed family members. So I just want to ask you, like, what's that like? Because everybody has had a different experience interviewing family. Some people are receptive, some people aren't receptive. So how was that, especially talking to your mom? There's a whole section talking to her. Was she receptive to talking to you, or was the camera a weird thing to her?
Yeah, I mean, my mom is also, without the title of it, certainly a director in her own right. So she was very happy to be a part of the film. And, since in essence, a part of the film is about my story, my personal take, she understood the importance of her perspective in the film. So she was really just as happy to be a part of the film. And she was great to work with, and she was very natural at the process of it, for sure. As long as I made her look good, that was her one stipulation, that she had to look skinny. That was her own stipulation. So I said, Mom, I got you, don't worry.
I mean, she was very outgoing and welcoming and warm and jovial, and so I didn't think that there was any kind of hesitation. But I just wanted to ask, because everyone's experience is a little bit different talking to family.
Certainly. I mean, it was weird personally at first, like this very weird, out of body experience of like interviewing my mom about my experience. Like that was a little strange at first, but then once after a few minutes of doing the interview, quickly got past that.
So sort of as a follow-up, because you eventually expand the story to not just talk about yourself, but you start including other members of the community. How open were they to speaking with you? And obviously they did talk to you, but was there any hesitance on their part to open up about something that is a pretty personal thing?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they were really excited to be a part of this because there's really not a lot of media or any type of real meaningful coverage about apraxia. So for people for parents whose sons or daughters might have apraxia, or for the speech pathologists who treat children with apraxia, they were very excited to be a part of this because they understood that this was an opportunity to kind of help get the message out about apraxia. And in the film, somebody said it best that when you hear the word cancer, like you immediately know how the severity of that. But when you hear the word apraxia, a lot of people don't understand how serious it is, what is involved with it. So they were very happy to be a part of this film. Everybody that I interviewed.
That's great to hear. And it's like you said before, it's a very welcoming community, and they're also very excited about it. So I figured that was going to be your answer, but I was just curious because again, it is a personal thing, and to open up on such a huge stage.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
It's a scary thing.
It took a lot for them to do it, I think, but I think they're happy they did it now in hindsight, but I think it's certainly an uncomfortable thing to do, but ultimately they understood the greater good of what was being done.
So documentaries, be they of a personal story or just something that you have an attachment to or anything along those lines, they all have their own challenges. Was there anything that stuck out while filming this that was, I guess, a bit of a challenge while working on this?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the biggest challenge was kind of telling this story in a way that was sensitive to both the condition and also everybody involved with. You really do run a line with telling this kind of story, and being able to really portray it in a way where you're not just making these people look helpless, that you are showing this sense of hopefulness in the film.
Well, you did a very good job of writing that line of, I'm going to educate, but I'm also going to do it with compassion, and show the human side behind this. And it's not just something that's very pedantic in educating people, although it was very educational. So you did a great job.
It was, originally this film was for my graduate master thesis project. So there definitely was components to make sure that people were getting educated as they were watching the film.
Fantastic. Any advice that you would have for somebody that wants to go out and either not necessarily make a documentary, but make a film, submit it to festivals? Is there any words of wisdom that you could impart to people that are looking to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my advice would be, the more research you do about both your film leading up to your film, and also the second part of deciding what you ultimately want to happen with your film. Do you want to do the festival circuit run? Do you want to get some kind of distribution? I think having those questions to yourself, no matter what the answer is, it's totally, sensible and your own personal take, but having that kind of plan of what you want to do and how you're going to do it is important, and researching where you think the film will do very well at certain festivals, or what kind of distribution would work with the film.
I think that's actually really key, is doing the research to, one, for the project, but also research the festivals to see where it's going to play, and not just blindly submit to stuff. So it's very smart on your part.
I certainly learned that by trial and error a little bit. I can't say that I had the foresight of thinking of this, but I certainly, as I've done this process, that is certainly something I learned from it.
So as far as any other work coming up, do you have any other projects that you're working on? Is there a place where people can see some of your other work if it's out there?
Yeah,
a chance to plug yourself.
Yeah, I know. So well, first, the film actually recently just got a distribution deal that is set to slate next year for it's with Films Media Group, which is a educational distribution. So you'll actually, if you want to see the film again, you actually can view it. It'll be available at any public library, university, secondary level school in North America.
That's fantastic. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That was a big accomplishment. Really proud of myself with that. But you know, right now my friends and I are trying to kind of figure out what our next project's going to be. You know, after this great successful run, we really do want to outdo ourselves and make something like that. So to be determined, but you know, you can see all of my work at evangarnerproductions.com. That's where all my latest work is and updated kind of stuff, whether it's films or commercial work.
Well, Evan, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for submitting. Thank you for making your film. Thank you for submitting it and allowing us to share it with our community. And thank you for joining me today for this talkback. This was a lot of fun. It was a pleasure talking to you. And good luck with the rest of the run of your film and other festivals. And also congratulations on distribution. That's amazing.
Thank you. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for letting me be a part of this festival.
Anytime. I'm sitting here talking to Maria Florencia Smith, who is behind TikTok Time to Heal. Welcome. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm very well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for submitting your film. This was a beautiful little film that I actually had to go back and watch a couple times because it's just so heartwarming and touching, and there's so many layers to it. And right off the bat, I just want to say thank you for welcoming us into your family, into your home, and into your past. That's a lot to do and to ask for an audience to come with you. And so thank you so much for allowing us to hear this story.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you for watching.
So based on that first thought, how does it feel right now knowing that not only have you shared this film with me, which we're talking to, but also it's out there in other festivals and people are getting a glimpse into your past and your home life and your family. How does that feel to you outside of being a filmmaker, but just as a person?
Yeah, you bring a good point because actually I haven't even stopped and think about it. Maybe because if I do, I'm gonna be like, oh my God, what did I do? But no, I think it's because I'm clinging to the filmmaker side of this whole thing, and in a way, I do like people seeing it and you know, strangers from anywhere watching it, and maybe it's going to bring inspire something into their life, you know, and to maybe go and ask something that they've been wondering, or maybe dig into their own past, start that process, because I think it is challenging and it is painful, obviously. But I think it's something that, you know, maybe we should all try in some way, in some aspect.
Well, I mean, there's definitely, I'm sure out there people that are in a similar situation. And so seeing stories like this is why it's important to make these films and tell these stories. And it may be very hard to put ourselves out there literally on film, but somebody seeing this may do exactly that and be inspired to look into their past and find something that they had lost, or a key to their past in some way. So yeah, so thanks again. Thanks for sharing this. I have to ask, how is your relationship with your mother now after making this? And I don't even mean like putting it out there, but once you were all done, how has that affected your relationship with your mom?
Yeah, actually very positive, in a very positive way. I obviously didn't know, I had no idea how we were going to make it through at the end of the, you know, the whole thing. But now I really found a better communication with her. She's even opening up very slowly, of course, but way more than before. She mentioned my dad the other day randomly on her own. That has never happened before.
That's huge.
Yeah, a little story about his past. So I was like, oh my God. And I was like in shock. And I could have asked more, right? But I didn't. So there you go again. So I went to my, you know, old self of like, oh, okay, maybe I'm not gonna ask another thing because she's gonna shut down. So I took what I got in that moment, right? But it's obviously a slow process, but I think it's definitely better.
It was amazing watching, watching the whole thing. It was lovely watching you get frustrated, obviously, to try to break down these things. And I know it's like, you're like, why is that good to watch? But it's just watch to see your frustration. But then when you triumph, we're all with you. So the moment where your mom actually begins to open up, and I mean, I definitely had this aha moment, which I'm sure you did too. And I went, oh, this makes so much sense. This is amazing. And one of my questions that I was going to ask you was, do you think the tics that you were experiencing was your way to try to save? And then I had to stop asking the question because I went, oh, that's exactly what it is.
All right.
So I mean, it's so beautiful to watch that and to see your realization, and also to see your mom open up more. It's just wonderful. Again, I keep saying thank you for like letting us into this, but to watch that emotion on screen and those realizations were beautiful.
Right.
You know, and these are things that if other people are watching it, they may be going through similar stuff. Like we said, like this could help them in their, depending on what it is, but help them in their personal world.
Yeah, absolutely.
So besides the obvious challenges of filming family and like trying to get stuff out of your mom, what were other challenges to filming this particular project?
Other challenges rather than that, I mean, I think it was technically, luckily, I didn't have any challenges like technical wise. So that was a you know, it was a whole on the other side, right? But I think one of the other challenges were on me. It was for me. How I dealt with myself in the editing of the story. I kind of went through something, a big challenge that in the beginning I didn't know when to look at the story in the personal me way. How to break into, okay, no, now I'm the filmmaker, so I need to have that perspective in mind. There was moments that, you know, I was in the editing booth and I was too immersed in, you know, because it's my story, it's my life, it's my past. So I couldn't have that perspective, that view that made me realize, oh, this should go here, this should go there. You know? So that took, you know, some time, but I finally, you know, got through it. I got a lot of feedback, and I obviously was talking it out with people because that helped me a lot. If not, I was like completely alone with it. You know, it's not okay. So yeah, that was definitely, I think, the biggest challenge in terms of that.
Has your family seen it?
Yes. So my mom and my sister saw it. But it's funny because my mom doesn't speak English, so she doesn't know what I'm saying in the narration too much.
Okay.
I will translate it in Spanish. I have to do that. But they actually they saw it in the festival that we did. So they saw it live with like so many people, and it could have gone, you know, to both ways, right?
Sure.
So I was like, whew, how is this gonna play out? But she loved it. She really, really loved it. She got so emotional, and she, you know, I think that moment she finally understood. I really needed to do this. I really, really did.
Yeah.
So
that's great. And it's so, like I said, it's so nice to follow along and kind of see you unlock bits of your past that you've either blocked out or just didn't know anything about. So and it's nice and heartwarming to know that your mom has mentioned your dad without your prompting.
Right.
Like that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
So do you have other projects in the works or anything that you'd like to, feel free to plug, but where can people see some of your other work? If there is other work out there right now?
Yeah, actually this is the only one.
Okay. That's okay.
Yeah, that's my first film. I definitely have the desire to make more. I'm working as a journalist right now. So I am currently open to my next project, open to whatever I find along the way, you know. Probably not personal, obviously, this time. So look away for that for a little while, you know. So yes, I'm definitely looking for my next one.
Are there specific stories that you think you would be drawn to? I know you said just now, maybe not something so personal, but even the subject matter of this, if it didn't deal with your family, like something about family or past or memories or anything along those lines, is that what you're drawn to, do you think? Or are you really just, I'm up for a project?
No, I'm definitely drawn to like the raw human emotion, whatever that may bring, whatever that may, you know, inspire, like to, you know, to capture people in their most vulnerable, whatever the circumstance is that they have. That's definitely what I love. Because I think, you know, that's where the real person comes out. You know, there's no mask, there's no, you know, superficial thing that we can hide behind. So I do love that. So I'm gonna try to find that again.
Thank you for submitting your film and sharing it with us, let alone the world. I hope I didn't stress you out by by telling you that. But it's a lovely film. Thank you for sharing it, and thanks for joining us today.